Welcome everybody to this week's Astro Weather Report. I am so glad you're here. I'm Kesenya. I'm going to tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. This is the Astro News and Weather Report for the second week of May 2026. And this is tropical Vedic astrology, not sidereal. Look it up if you need to. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. We've got a big week of Astro News ahead, and then stick around for your personal forecast by sign. You can even use the timestamps below to navigate to your particular chapter. And if the message really hits home, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share this video to help us reach more people with the Astro News. And quickly, for those who don't know, who are new here, how my channel works. Every weekend there is an Astro weather forecast just like this one, looking at the week ahead for your sign. Most Wednesdays I discuss the current influence of the stars and their mythology with my husband, David Warner Matheson. And for those who want even more, I also provide a full moon video forecast and a new moon video forecast for all signs, plus a bonus Learn Astrology with Me video every month through my family membership program. Do come and join me there. And now let's get going. Well, the one major influence this week in the astro skies, and there is really only one major influence, is the Sun conjunct with Mercury at 23 degrees of Taurus. This is actually the degree of Aquarius in the sign of Taurus. And this is happening on the 14th of May, depending where you are in the world. Friends, this is not Mercury cazimi, despite what you might hear from other astrologers. Mercury is behind the Sun. I'm going to explain this for you in just a second. But Mercury is behind the Sun and therefore is combust. So what does this mean? We might lose our usual Mercuriness, meaning we might lose our sense of humor, our wittiness, our sense of sociability. Our usual ability to communicate gets burnt up by the heat of the sun. We might feel restless and uncomfortable with our lives for no apparent reason that we can pinpoint. And this is why. But don't fret, my friends. This is actually a wonderful transit. It represents the halfway point of the Mercury cycle, and it is the culmination of what was unfolding during the recent Mercury retrograde period. So think back to the 6th of March when we last had a conjunction of Mercury and the Sun. What was significant in your life around that time? Doesn't have to be on the exact day, the 6th of March. It could have been a week before or a week after. What was happening in your life then? Well, that was actually the beginning of the previous Promethean cycle of Mercury. And it's the Promethean cycle that is ending this week on the 14th of May with the follow-up conjunction, if you like, the superior conjunction of Mercury and the Sun. So think about it. Since the 6th of May-ish, up until now, what messages has Mercury brought you since then? You know what? In the weeks to come, there's going to be follow-up action for those messages that you have received over the last couple of months. Now, this could look like people coming back into your life. You might be rejigging what wasn't working over that period of time. You might be adjusting your societal expectations in some way. You might be reinvigorating what's become worn out in your life. So the Promethean retrograde and direct cycle is concluding on the 14th of May, and we begin a brand new phase of Mercury energy. And this is called the EPIMETHEUS phase of Mercury's cycle. Let's look a little further at the Epimethean phase. Prometheus and Epimetheus, I love this myth of the two brothers. It's fascinating. Prometheus is actually my favorite of all mythological characters. He was the forward looker, the visionary, and the bringer of the fire of the gods to humankind. He loved humans. He was a titan who loved humans. And of course, his brother was Epimetheus. He was actually the backward looker. And he is quite famous in mythology for marrying Pandora, famous of Pandora's box. Now, my husband, David Warner Matheson, and I talk in depth about this incredible myth in our recent video together, all about this particular cycle. So be sure to check that out if you want to know more about it. Mercury's cycle is divided into two great hemicycles that are named after these mythological brothers. So this week, on the 14th of May, we enter, as I've said, into the backward-looking EPIMETHEUS cycle of Mercury. Let me show you how this works. So here, hope you can see this, is my little stickable Mercury from my astro wheel. When Mercury sits right behind the sun, that is the beginning of the EPIMETHEUS cycle. But we are sitting here at the Guiding Star logo, which is our vantage point from Earth, looking out at the heavens. And we look out and we see the sun and no Mercury. We do not see Mercury because Mercury is hidden behind the sun, lost in the glare of the sun. This is known as the superior conjunction. Currently, Mercury is moving in direct motion, which means Mercury is moving this way. And then Mercury will eventually get out to his furthest from the sun that he ever gets to, and he will then turn retrograde and begin going backwards. And when he does, he will go backwards in front of the sun. And this is all the EPIMETHEUS cycle, the forward direct but EPIMETHEUS cycle, and the backwards retrograde in EPIMETHEUS cycle. Then, as you can see, our vantage point on Earth is looking at the sun. Mercury is in front. We receive Mercury's energies first and foremost, not lost and burnt up in the glare of the sun as it is at the superior conjunction. What does this mean for us? Well, this is Mercury cazimi. I will talk about that when Mercury cazimi next occurs, and it happens roughly 3 times a year. So it's not exactly unusual, and I will talk about it in upcoming videos. But that's the EPIMETHEUS cycle. There's an EPIMETHEUS forward and an EPIMETHEUS retrograde portion to the cycle. Just to explain further, as Mercury then moves on from cazimi in retrograde out to about as far as he ever gets retrograde from the sun, this is the Prometheus retrograde cycle, and then he turns direct, catches up with the sun, and has another superior conjunction here, not Mercury cazimi. This is the Mercury Promethean cycle. So that is what we are looking at in this video, and this is what we'll be analyzing and how it will affect all signs in the week ahead. The Epimethean character of Mercury is revealed at the superior conjunction that's occurring this week on the 14th of May. When Mercury is direct, and as we can see on the far side of the sun from the Earth, this cycle, both in its direct and its retrograde motions, will last 61 days until June the 13th this year, when we will have Mercury cazimi, and we will then enter in the Promethean phase. So it is a period where we're drawing, I'm talking about the Epimetheus cycle, is a time when we're drawing from what we've learnt during the previous Promethean cycle that we've been in since the 6th of March. And therefore, this is the backward-looking phase. It's not about initiating something new. It's backward-looking, or rather drawing from our past experience since the 6th of March. And as with the Promethean cycle, as I've just described, on the astro wheel, there are 2 phases to the Epimetheus cycle, direct and Epimetheus retrograde. So we are currently entering into this week the Epimetheus direct cycle, not the retrograde. That will come a little later. And if you follow me here, we will discuss that when it occurs. So let's take a look now at what we can expect during the Epimetheus direct cycle, which we're now moving into. Well, it's really an energy of, as they say, looking before you leap. You know, even though life keeps moving forward, This is a time when something inside us naturally wants to slow down and take stock of our lives and our situation. Without even realizing it, our minds are quietly getting ready for what is going to be coming up, that deeper reflective period that is Mercury retrograde, when that next occurs. So think of it like your brain just hitting the pause button for a little while between now and the next Mercury retrograde. That's going to be beginning for us on the 29th of June. So between now and the 29th of June, we're slowing down and taking stock. Also, it's time to enjoy what we've built. What have we constructed in our lives since the 6th of March? Where have you been putting all your hard work? What have you been growing, developing, initiating? And this time, the EPIMETHEUS direct cycle is when all that work starts to pay off. It's not really time for launching big new things. I mean, you can. There's nothing to stop you doing that. There is forward motion here. However, the real establishment of new beginnings comes in the Promethean cycle. This is the taking stock. It's more about finishing what you've started now and appreciating the results. You could imagine it a bit like a farmer. I love farming analogies. I'm from a farm. A farmer who's done all the planting and is now ready to bring in the harvest. He's watching his wheat or his flowers or his fruit grow into their fullness, getting ready for harvest time. It's that sit and relax and watch the blossom time, or the fruiting time rather, come in phase, which is one of the most pleasurable and enjoyable periods of the farming cycle. That's what this is like. Finally, it's a period where we need to stop and think before we act. Yes, we can act. Yes, we can initiate, but it's about really considering it before we do. This is a time when our mind naturally shifts into a more careful, thoughtful gear. Instead of rushing into decisions on gut instinct, we find ourselves stepping back, looking at the big picture. It's less about quick reactions and more about connecting the dots in life, asking ourselves, how is this all going to fit together in my life? So in a nutshell, this is a season until the 29th of June for slowing down, for reflecting, for gathering wisdom before the next big push forward. And the next big push forward really doesn't come until the Promethean direct phase. So this is a very different energy that we're entering into now for quite some time ahead. Let's break it down now for all signs. I know you're going to want to hear how this is going to affect you for your sun, moon, or rising sign. And away we go with Taurus. What is happening for Taurus with this EPIMETHEUS direct version occurring in your first house? Well, you'll be slowing down and taking stock of things to do with your first house. This means taking stock of your appearance. So you might be considering on perhaps an exercise program or a diet or a health regime, or maybe even a new movement in terms of what your dressing is like, or hairstyle or makeup style. You'll be taking stock of how effective it's been. Has your diet worked? Has your exercise regime toned you up? Have those new clothes you've bought made you feel good about yourself when you wear them? You're taking stock of the changes that you've made since the 9th of March. So that's to do with appearance and bodily health, of course. You might also be finishing what you have started in that regard as well. So maybe you decided around the 9th of March that you were going to start applying some Pilates program, and that you hoped in 3 months' time everything would give you a certain outcome from your Pilates program. So what is it that you've been doing to do with diet, exercise, health, image, etc., that you're now finishing up a program of? And have you achieved what you wanted? Can you celebrate how far you've come? Can you see the results regarding your body and appearance, regarding your new makeup look, regarding your new wardrobe? Are you able to now celebrate? And if you are, then do so. Celebrate. You've been dieting hard or exercising hard or changing your image, and now it's paying off. It is payoff time. Not only that, the first house is not just to do with exterior things, although that is a large part. It is also to do with our purpose and our mission in life, our path through life. And so you might be taking stock of your current path. And that's what's going to be happening between now and when Mercury goes retrograde, now that we are in the EPIMETHEUS stage of the cycle. So this means looking at where you're going. Now, back on the 6th of March, did you consider your path in life and make any adjustments? You know, it can have to do with goals and dreams, the mission, the purpose for being here, understanding why you're on the planet in this incarnation. You may now be taking stock of how meaningful the direction that you're heading in is to you. Are you on track? Are you doing what you love? Are you doing what you feel your soul is called to do this lifetime? In fact, up until the 29th of June, when Mercury goes retrograde, you will be analyzing and considering on this. Are you headed in a direction that feels most aligned with you? This is perhaps causing you to consider, is the direction you're heading giving you the greatest happiness, the greatest well-being, the greatest general prosperity, or the greatest strength? These things are associated with the first house in Vedic astrology. So it's very much about taking stock of the direction you're going. It's also about celebrating what you've achieved. So maybe around the 9th of March, you decided that, you wanted to start to bring in more charity work into your business. And you wanted to start, perhaps, I'm just using this as an example, Taurus, you wanted to start putting a portion of your income aside to help a local charity or something that you really feel called to support. And so you've made this is just an example, but you've made some steps in that direction to be able to implement some kind of charity through your daily work. And maybe that's your mission and a path that you want to take, and it makes you feel good because you're blessing the world. Just an example. So you may have decided something around the 9th of March that has to do with your purpose and the meaning that you want your life to have. Now you can look back and say, well, look, I donated to this charity. My business has been going okay, so I've been giving to this charity. And look, here are the results. Maybe you gave a charity towards educating young children, and however many children have now been blessed because of your charity. You are achieving your personal mission and purpose for life in helping, let's say, educate young children who don't get opportunities as some others do. This is just an example. I mean, everybody's path through life, everybody's personal mission is different. What are you here to do? You, like I said, you're taking stock of that, but you're also celebrating the steps you've already taken since the 9th of March towards achieving some kind of results for your purpose, your mission, and what your overall path in life may be. Of course, that's different for everybody, so you need to know what your mission and your path in life is. Often that is shown in our astrology chart, and certainly getting a reading can help you understand your personal mission and path in life, of course. Overall, Taurus, this is a time for connecting the dots regarding where you're going, your mission, your purpose, why your soul incarnated here. So it can be a time of revelation in that regard. You might discover exactly what your purpose is, because this is, like I said, a slowing down, a taking stock, an understanding of. And so if you didn't discover a personal mission or purpose around the 9th of March, it could be that revelation is coming for you now in the next few days up until the 29th of June. And of course, this then becomes a building time. We go retrograde after the 29th of June, and that brings a whole new set of dynamics. But EPIMETHEUS is looking back where we've come from in terms of our path through life. And with that, there's a pondering of what we want to harvest and an understanding, connecting the dots for the harvest that we are getting ready to bring in regarding our mission and our purpose in life. This is also a relationship axis trigger as well, especially if you happen to have your rising degree or your sun or your moon for that matter as well, around about 23 degrees give or take. You probably can consider it a conjunction within 2 degrees of Orb, 23 degrees of Taurus. This is really activating your relationship axis. And so you might be taking stock of your relationships in life, all your relationships, not just a marriage, not just a boyfriend or girlfriend, but also business partnerships, relationships with clients, relationships with an audience. You are, Taurus, considering how you are relating, taking stock of who are your dearest contacts, of what is lacking in your relationship, what needs working on. But most of all, it's about celebrating the relationships that you have at this time. It's about seeing how the relationships that are important in your life have grown, have blessed you, have been enabling for you, expansive for you, and it's about celebrating those. So yes, it's taking stock of where you've been, but it's also like the farmer watching his harvest come into fruit. It's about celebrating the harvest that is there for you regarding love, friendships, commitments, and partnerships and collaborations. So I love this for our Taurus friends. You're seeing the big picture with relationships, with your body, with your path through life, and you're celebrating where you're at for the next few weeks. Taurus, don't forget that if you would like a year ahead written report from me, all you have to do is head over to the website to get your $18 year ahead report. My beautiful Gemini, rising sun or moon friends, the EPIMETHEUS direct energy that we are now entering into until the 29th of June is affecting you through your, in this case, 12th house. And of course, the 12th house has many, many meanings. But here with the EPIMETHEUS direct, it could be a bit lost on you what this beautiful cycle of Mercury actually is doing in your life. And you might not have the revelation about what it's actually doing in your life until the 29th of June when Mercury turns retrograde. Because the 12th house is a hidden house. It's things we can't see clearly. It's foggy, it's misty, it's over our shoulder, behind us, and we can't quite grasp it. So for many of you, there might be perhaps a difficulty connecting the dots and seeing the big picture in your life. Difficulty understanding what you've achieved since Mercury went into its Promethean phase on the 9th of March. So really, it could be that there is just a lack of clarity about your life for the next couple of weeks. And if that's how you're feeling, if that's what you're experiencing, it's okay. It's an energy that will pass. It is not forever. So allow the confusion to sit there and be in your life, and don't get too upset about it, because it will end and it will pass and clarity will return again. This is just a cycle. Other ways this can express is that you might be, taking stock of your debts and expenses. And this is perhaps a good way to direct your energy at this time, my beautiful Gemini friends. Where have you been spending money? Where do you need to slow down on the spending? Where do you need to sort of maybe wrap up or finish some kind of a loan or an agreement with regard to debts and expenses? So certainly that can be part of this energy as well. Also in Vedic astrology, this is a house of bargains, where we find a bargain, where we get a good deal. Very interesting, very practical in the Vedic astrology is the 12th house. And with that in mind, you might be able to perhaps connect the dots about a bargain. Maybe you've been analyzing, well, is this healthcare good for me? Is that healthcare system good for me? Oh, that one's the best value. Okay, I see the bargain with this particular healthcare service. I'm going to jump on that one. You can see a bargain. Okay, so while a lot of things in life might be unclear for many of my Gemini friends during this phase, this particular area connecting the dots regarding finding a bargain may actually work in your favor. So it's time for analyzing all your budgetary requirements, if you like, according to Vedic astrology. This is also the realm that has to do with past lives and karma. Some of you might be getting a bit of an inkling during this time about karmic repercussions that are unfolding, and particularly any karmic repercussions from decisions that were made around the 9th of March when we had the beginning of the Promethean cycle. So, whatever was activated at that time that felt, a bit out of your control, like it was fate, like it was predetermined, like the heavens were moving, the stars were aligning, and you didn't have much say. That's what karma or fate brings us in the 12th house. Now you might be starting to see the why, and it's even a time for getting sort of the goosebumps, understanding, okay, that's why I met with that person, or that's why that conversation happened, or that's why I didn't buy that particular car. Now I get it. You start to understand the karma and the influence of fate in your life that may have been unfolding since the 9th of March. And in some cases, that's a cause for celebration. Gemini, maybe you missed out on getting a job around the 9th of March and you were really hoping that you would get it. And now that company that you could have got a job with at that time is collapsing. And everybody's losing their benefits, everybody's losing their job. And you can be like, well, phew, dodged a bullet there. We start to see the karma. Okay, it seemed like, a bad deal at the time and I missed out, but now I can celebrate that, hey, the divine protected me. There was some pulling of the strings that has been occurring. The angels, the higher, life guides on the other side were acting in your favor, even though it mightn't have seemed to add up at the time. So for many of you, it's not just about having a lack of clarity. Some people will feel that way. Some Gemini people will be able to see the karmic influence that's been at play, because this is a house of karma. This is really a moksha house, and in many ways it's about letting go. And in the illustration that I'm using here, of course, it can be in many ways illustrating or showing up in your life. The illustration that I'm using regarding a job is, celebrating, letting go of your attachment to having got a job and just moving on and trusting the divine, trusting fate has acted in your favor. So it's very much about liberation and dissolving of attachment to things that is part of this energy for you right now. Okay, you didn't get the job. Maybe the company's not collapsing. Maybe you just need to let it go. And as you do so, you'll feel more like celebrating. You'll feel more like, well, that passed me by, but there must be a better thing out there for me. And so you look for that. So I've just used job. There's a million ways that this karmic energy can be at play. This fated energy is at play. Certainly during this EPIMETHEUS direct period, you're going to want to sort of perhaps finish issues that were karmically playing out in your life, because it's finishing what you've started. So if you've been doing any kind of therapy, this is one of the therapy houses. If you've been doing any kind of therapy around sort of subconscious behavioral patterns, or around, letting go of your past, liberating yourself from the past, dissolving, associations that you want to let go of, it can be about reorienting yourself to a new vision and a new ideal and a new dream in your life. It can be very much about, any kind of insecurities or self-destructive behaviors. This is a time when you can really finish and wrap up any cycles that have been at play with those particular deep psychological and therapeutic areas of life. So that's applicable to anyone who's been doing the work, as they say, who's been trying to change mental patterns, who's been trying to heal, the heart after wounds from the past have been holding you back. If you've been working on that, if you've been dealing with those things, then this EPIMETHEUS direct period gives you the chance to wrap up that therapy and say, I'm done with that. I'm healed. I'm whole. I'm finished. This is an energy of finishing what we've started, finishing the healing process. I mean, are we ever finished with the healing process? No, not really. None of us are. However, what this strikes me as the message from Spirit is that you're finishing a stage of that healing process. Maybe it was some issues around, a mother wound that you can now lay to rest. Okay, there might be issues now to deal with regarding siblings or fathers or, hang-ups that you just seem to carry with you your whole life, not relating to anyone in your family. Maybe just behavioral patterns that you want to undo. There's always work to be done. There's always healing and self-improvement to be undertaken. But certainly this energy this week speaks to a finishing stage for some kind of progress you've been making. You're taking stock of the healing. You're taking stock of the liberation that your soul is achieving and celebrating how far you've come. There is no finish line in self-work. Really, my Gemini friends, what this is saying is celebrate what you are accomplishing. Knowing, yes, we're all working on ourselves, or should be, to improve ourselves and to rise up into higher vibration as this life unfolds. But we should celebrate. It's not about whipping ourselves. This week or these next few weeks until the 29th of June are about saying, look at how far I've come. Look at what I've achieved. Look at the peace that I'm attaining in my life through the work that I'm doing. That's what I'm feeling into and feeling from Spirit regarding the astrology of the EPIMETHEUS direct for our beautiful friends in Gemini land. And Gemini, don't forget that if you would like a solar return report to understand your year ahead, especially as your sun is about to return to its natal position for our Gemini sun sign friends, this could be the perfect time to understand what the next solar year of your life has in store for you. All it costs is $18 for a solar return report at the website. Precious Cancer rising, sun and moon people, the EPIMETHEUS direct energy of the conjunction of the sun and the planet Mercury is occurring in your 11th house. And so this is where the EPIMETHEUS energy is likely to be felt for you in the coming weeks. So the 11th house means that you'll be slowing down and taking stock of your friendships, analyzing who is valuable in your life and who you could really do without. It's an analysis phase. It's a reflection phase, if you like, before changes come in. So you are absolutely looking at your networks, who you hang out with, who uplifts you, who doesn't, and perhaps making changes in that regard. But this also is a house of group joining, joining the local golf club or joining, some kind of CWA opportunity, let's say. So this might be a period where you are analyzing the value of those groups in your life. You're taking stock of, do I have time to attend the CWA every week? Do I have time to really get value out of this golf course membership? So you're analyzing your associations as well as your networks and friendships also. And with that analysis, there might be even a feeling of celebration. How might that be? Well, maybe you've been a member of your local golf club for 10 years and you can celebrate all the blessings that club and its membership has brought to you. Maybe you've been a member of the Patreon family at Guiding Star Astrology and you're taking stock of just how much information it's given you and how much insight it's given you into astrology and how much it's helped you to understand astrology deeper. So you might be celebrating your association with the group that is the Guiding Star Astrology Patreon family. These are just examples, but there is certainly a celebration element and an appreciation element for this particular period regarding group associations, clubs, and even political associations and organizations as well. So celebrating your role, celebrating what they've brought you, etc. Not only that, but this, as we know, is the house of our major goals and ambitions. I love this house because in Vedic astrology, it's the house of winnings. It's the house of our big gains in life in Vedic astrology. And so there might be the opportunity to celebrate here the harvest in terms of remuneration, like an income a promotion, some sort of winnings, some sort of gains and profits, some sort of achievement of a major goal. I mean, this is part of the Mercury cycle, my dear friends, and Cancer land. And the 9th of March was when we entered into the Promethean cycle. What has happened between then and now that you can celebrate regarding your major goals being achieved, or a shift in your ambitions that now has you going like a bat out of hell, or going like direct as an arrow to some new goal, new desire? What have you achieved since the 9th of March in terms of profit and gainfulness? So for our Cancer friends, maybe you've managed to put bread on the table and then some for the last 3 months. Well, that's something to celebrate in this crazy world where everything's turning upside down for ordinary people at this time, especially in the West. We need to celebrate our ability to survive and thrive and flourish. So there could be a celebration element here. If you have been struggling to survive and thrive and flourish since the 9th of March, then you might be taking stock at this time of what has been going wrong, because the EPIMETHEUS cycle of Mercury is an analysis period as much as a harvest celebratory period. So where is it in your life that things are not allowing you to achieve your major goals and desires or receive the gain that you would like to have? Well, this period might see us, analyzing and reviewing and, connecting the dots, seeing the big picture about what is missing. Do I need to, create better SEO on my website so I get discovered more? Connecting the dots. Okay, that's what's missing. Now I need to make the changes. Connecting the dots about, maybe the networks that you're involved in. Are they allowing you to further your purpose and your mission in life, your major goals, your desires? Are you in the right organization to create the gains and the profits that you hope to achieve? Or is this a dead-end job where there is no opportunity for promotion and growth and advancement? This is connecting the dots and seeing the big picture during this time. Now, this may not all come rushing in on the 14th of May when this occurs, but between the 14th of May and the 29th of June, this is what you might be processing and analyzing and sitting with. So you will be reviewing this week and in the weeks to come, where you can increase your gains and profits, what you need to change, how things are stacking up for you, and also celebrating. Don't forget to celebrate and show gratitude to the divine for how far you have come and what you have achieved. That's what I'm feeling into for my beautiful Cancer friends. Also, Cancer, don't forget that if you would like a year ahead written report from me to understand what's coming up for you for the whole next 12 months, then all it costs is $18 at the website to enjoy a written report for your personal year ahead. Lovely Leo, rising sun and moon people. What a great area of the chart to be experiencing the EPIMETHEUS direct cycle beginning. It's in your 10th house, an angular house, meaning it manifests stronger for you than many other signs. When something is angular, it is felt at a deeper level. So what does this mean for Leo people? Well, it could actually indicate that in some way with your career, you're slowing down. It doesn't mean that the income's not coming in. It doesn't mean that there aren't people appreciating you, but it's for you, and your mental processes are somehow slowing down so you can take stock of where you're at with your career, where you're at with your involvement with a corporation or a hierarchy, where you're at with, your progress into the career of your dreams. This is an analysis time. So you might be connecting the dots, weighing up, am I on track for my purpose, my mission in life? Am I relating well to the authority figures in my life, to the government structures? Am I doing what I need to? Am I dotting the I's and crossing the T's regarding these areas of life as I need to do? You're really analyzing and weighing up where you're at with this EPIMETHEUS cycle. It's also a celebratory energy. It's like the farmer seeing his harvest come into fruit, knowing he's about to gather it into the storehouse. And essentially, that's on the verge of the celebration. It's not about counting the chickens before they hatch. It's knowing that the harvest is at hand. So what can you celebrate regarding your successes in life? It's not just all about analyzing where you've gone wrong and beating yourself up about things, taking stock of where you've achieved and where you haven't career-wise, but rather it's actually, celebrating how you've been an inspiration to people. It's celebrating the successes that you have had. Maybe that's the sales you've had or the contract that you signed. Maybe it's the ability to put in for a new position. You're still waiting to hear, but at least you were considered for the job. That's a celebration as well. This is an energy of celebrating what you have done and even seeing results during this EPIMETHEUS direct period. So during this time, up until the 29th of June, this is a time when if you did put in for a pay rise, if you did put in for a new position, you may actually see results, especially if this is occurring conjunct with your MC. If your MC is at 23 degrees of Taurus, you are likely to see some significant energy and results for career, for projects you've been working on, for, being more successful, for having recognition, for increasing your social status. This is very positive. So, I'm loving this for our Leo friends. It speaks to us of being inspired, being creative, and being able to finish projects that you've started. I'm going to give you an example because I'm a Leo Sun person, and I am certainly in the process of wrapping up my professional level of the Royal Stars Academy. I had thought it was done. Around the time of sort of the 9th of March, I thought I was concluded and finished with the professional level of the Royal Stars Academy. But now I'm entering into this EPIMETHEUS period on the 14th of May. I can see where it's taking me. I can feel this energy already. And I'm analyzing what I've done for the professional level of the Royal Stars Academy, and there's a few tweaks I want to make. I'm taking stock of it. Is it as good as I want it to be? And really, during this time up until the 29th of June, I can see that I'm going to finish what I started. My analyzing is happening of this project that I've been working on for a long, long time, and I can see that this is going to be the period where I wrap it up and finish it to my satisfaction. Then I will celebrate. Then believe me, I will celebrate when the Royal Stars Academy can be wrapped up like a beautiful ribbon with a bow. It's going to be done. And that's this energy of EPIMETHEUS direct. It's taking stock, finishing what we've started in our career, in our projects, in our connections with government figures, etc., and then celebrating when it's done, when it's achieved. That's what this next few weeks will be all about, pertaining to career. Pertaining also to wealth matters in the Vedic astrology system. This is one of the wealth, or a house that has to do with wealth matters. So you're taking stock of your particular level of wealth and prosperity. You're finishing what you need to create more wealth and prosperity in your life, and you're celebrating as that is wrapped up for you. Also, this is a house of leadership. Even career aside, even wealth matters aside, it can have to do with having positions of authority. So maybe you have been trying to get a position of authority, maybe on a board of something, or maybe you've been trying to get a position of authority in the local community. You want to be treasurer for some kind of, local group, and so you're taking stock of your application for that sort of thing, or that attempt you made for a leadership role. Over the next few weeks, you might be sort of finishing up other roles in order to take on a new leadership role, or you might find that this is a chance to celebrate your position of leadership that you've achieved, or maybe that you've been in for 10 years, and it's a time for seeing the results of your period as in a leadership position in some way, shape or form. Also, just to conclude for my beautiful Leo friends, this Epimetheus direct period up until from the 14th of May to the 29th of June is about connecting the dots in your life career-wise and seeing the big picture, seeing where things are lacking, seeing what needs improving, understanding the legacy that you want to pass on to others and how you're going to get there. It's really a period for understanding, how you can be remembered in life as well, depending where you are in your stage of life. Understanding what you want to be remembered for and the legacy you've built. You're seeing the big picture, and that is certainly worth celebrating as well. My dear friends, if you are interested in understanding what the year ahead holds for you, then don't go past my written solar return report. It's only $18 at the website. Absolute bargain. You will love it. Virgo rising, sun and moon people. Well, this week the Epimetheus direct energy of Sun Mercury conjunction is occurring in your 9th house. This means you'll be slowing down and taking stock of your life pertaining to the 9th house where it's occurring. So you might be reconsidering, or maybe not even reconsidering, that's probably not the right word. Maybe you'll be looking at your options regarding some sort of higher education or travel or long journey. These are the main themes that we know of in the 9th house. There are others as well. We'll talk about those in a minute. But certainly this energy is about taking stock, trying to understand. And of course, this is taking stock of where you've been with these themes since the 9th of March. So maybe you've done a bit of traveling and now you're reviewing the traveling that you've done and seeing what you've learned out of that process, how your soul has expanded, how your understanding of the world has changed. Maybe you'll be taking stock of some sort of higher education that you've been undertaking or considering on since the 9th of March. And doing that has helped you to, garner a sense of knowingness about where you're at right now. I'll give you an example if you like. Maybe around the 9th of March, you discovered that the fabulous Bernadette Brady is part of a teaching team at the Cultural Astronomy course in, I think it's the University of Wales. And so you've been thinking, will I do that course? Won't I do that course? Since the 9th of March or thereabouts. Considering on some form of higher education. I've given you an astrology example. Now, as we enter into this Epimetheus phase that will last until Epimetheus direct until the 29th of June, you probably will be, maybe finishing an application to the University of Wales in order to do that course. Or maybe you are in a process where you are celebrating your acceptance at some stage between now and June into that course. This, of course, is just one example, but it's an appropriate one for 9th house energies. This kind of thing might be what you're going through. Taking stock of your options, finishing what you've started, celebrating an achievement, to do with higher education, to do with a travel opportunity or travel that you have done. You know what else? This is one of the, in Vedic astrology, lucky houses, the fortunate houses, and certainly when we have this Epimetheus conjunction occurring in the 9th house, you might be celebrating some good fortune, some luck, some, wonderful door that's open for you, some fated opportunity that you are stepping into. This is a harvest energy, seeing results. And so this is actually not just good fortune where the universe just plonks things in your lap. In this case, with the Epimetheus conjunction occurring here, it's celebrating the harvest that you're bringing in, the results of your work, the results of the opportunities life has presented to you. So it's a celebratory energy and a harvest energy as well. Part of that harvest might be something like a garnering of new wisdom, new insight, new beliefs. And so, you might be actually in a state of taking stock of, how your beliefs have changed since March, how your understanding of the world has shifted, how your philosophy of life has gone through a change. And now it's a harvest. I'm stepping into this new belief. I'm stepping into this new understanding that takes my life even on a different course. You know, my husband has been really reading a lot of Stoicism recently and Confucianism, and he has embraced in so many ways these new understandings and new revelations that he has garnered through his readings. A lot of this has been done since he came out to America in early March, which is exactly the phase of this cycle. And he's been in a process during this time of initiating these new understandings and new philosophies, reading all about them, you know, grappling with them, you know, seeing how it applies to his life during that time. Now I'm seeing this at work. I'm seeing him start to absolutely integrate these things into his career, into his relationships with his family and with me, and starting to really apply and harvest essentially this process of that's been at play regarding beliefs and understanding, finding his truth, finding his source of liberation in a new way since early March. What about you? What new morals and ethics are you aligning with at this time that you can see is part of this Epimetheus process? Now, that's very philosophical, of course, but in practical manners, not Vedic astrology, but Western astrology, this is the house of court case outcomes. And because this is a harvest energy, if you've been, you know, in a rather short-term, I guess, court case since March, you might be about to see results. You might be about to get the harvest come in. You might be even about to see the big picture of the whole process you've been on with a court case, because, as I've just said, the ninth house has to do with the outcomes of court cases. Really, this is a connecting the dots kind of phase that you're in up until the 29th of June, from the 14th of May to the 29th of June. This is connecting the dots regarding not only your philosophies and putting them to good use, but about your future visions, your goals. The ninth house is the house before the house of public recognition. That's why it's the house of university. What do? We go to university, we get a degree. Generally speaking, this is how it used to go anyway, before they pumped up the prices to something utterly ridiculous. But we went to university, we got a degree, and then we moved into our career, 10th house. But first came the ninth house. So it very much had to do with the big picture, the future visions, the goals that you had for your life. I want to be a doctor. I will study to be a doctor, ninth house, and then I will become a doctor, 10th house. So because this energy is about connecting the dots and seeing the big picture in the house of seeing the big picture, it is really a time for our Virgo friends to really solidify and understand the trajectory that they're on with their lives, knowing where they're going and what steps they have to take to get there. Expect that for our Virgo friends, this is an energy this week and up until the 29th of June that will bring clarity and strategy and forward momentum, even as you're analyzing and reviewing with this Epimetheus conjunction. I love this for my beautiful Virgo friends. Now, with that in mind, Virgo, if you are interested in what's coming up for you in your year ahead, I just want to remind you I have astrology reports available at my website for only $18, very affordable, where you can get a written report all about what the future holds for you in the year ahead. Precious Libran rising, sun or moon people, we are looking at the Epimetheus conjunction occurring in your 8th house this week. So it's in 8th house areas that you'll be slowing down and taking stock of what has been in your life regarding 8th house things. Maybe you've been learning astrology. The 8th house has to do with astrology, and you're taking stock of your knowledge right now, celebrating how much you've learned, how much you've grown, seeing the results in your life as you look at the charts of friends and family, seeing the results of all the learning that you've undertaken, all the understandings you've achieved regarding that very mystical, spiritual, even psychic capacity represented by the 8th house. Something to celebrate as you look at how much you've grown and what you've achieved, Libra. Not only that, but the 8th house is, as we know, a house of other people's money. Other people's resources. This marks the beginning of a new cycle in your relationship to other people's money. So does it look like receiving? Yes, it can. It can look like receiving some sort of benefit because this is a harvest energy. It's about, gathering in the fruits of maybe some work that you've done in the past, some relationship that you've had in the past. I mean, that could be positive. Maybe this is a harvest for a divorce. Eighth house also has to do a divorce, and there's some financial receiving that you get from a divorce process. Of course, EPIMETHEUS is conjunctions about looking at where you've been and gathering in the harvest for that. So if you've been through a divorce, then you can be gathering in some payout. Maybe, it could be that you have invested well. This is a house of managing other people's money as well as receiving from other people. So maybe you've managed, the Wall Street investments of a, large group of people or something like that. And you look back at what you've done and how you've grown the portfolio, etc., etc. And now you are reaping the harvest for the work that you've done. Managing somebody else's money, managing a mortgage, managing a loan, managing a big investment, managing your taxes. Look at what you've done with regard to those things. Look at how far you've come, how much you've paid off your loan, how much you were able to negotiate the tax system. And believe me, it's a crazy system. It's about seeing what you've been able to do and then celebrating the wins. This is lasting between now, the 14th of May this week, until the 29th of June. So, it's not an immediate land in your lap on the 14th of May. This is about understanding the work you've done and seeing the reward for the work you've done between now and the 29th of June. So I'm excited about this for Libran people. Also, if you've been working on some sort of a project regarding maybe it could be a therapy, some sort of healing process that you've been going through. Maybe it's been, a shamanic, course in shamanic healing of the soul, or some psychological course you've been dealing with, maybe since around the early March. Maybe it could be really, really practical, and you've been doing a course of surgery. Maybe you had to have a lot of little surgeries or something since March. The end of it, the finishing what we've started regarding some sort of healing, therapy, psychology, maybe a course in dance therapy or music therapy or something like that, comes to an end between now and the 29th of June. The surgeries you've had to undertake will come to an end between now and the 29th of June. The therapeutic healing and the achievement of that healing may come between now and the 29th of June. So lots going on with this EPIMETHEUS conjunction that is occurring. Back to receiving from others. This could be where you start to see the big picture of what you have or have not received from others, the wheres, the why-fors. This period until the 29th of June may enlighten you as to why you didn't receive that inheritance you thought you were going to receive, or why you did receive the inheritance that you received, even though you didn't necessarily think that you were deserving. This is a time of connecting the dots regarding receiving from other people, why you received, why you haven't received. It's also the house of how you share resources with others, your talents and your valuables. And you might start to, understand, the shared resources, like if you're in a business partnership or if you're in a marriage, connecting the dots and seeing, okay, how this is all petered out. Believe me, this is an enlightening time. So you might start to understand why you don't seem to be receiving what you should in your shared resources, and why somebody is, pocketing everything. It starts to give clarity. You start to see the big picture of how some shared resources are divvied up. And, and of course, once you see the truth or get some epiphany or some understanding, you make changes where necessary. And that includes when you're receiving more than others and you know that that's not balanced, not harmonious, not fair. You're a Libran. You like fairness. You like harmony. You like balance. So if you see the big picture of shared resources and you realize there's not an equal distribution, don't be afraid to step forward and make sure that you keep your karma clean by creating fairness in that regard. It's interesting, but I do think for some Librans, there might be a celebration that has to do with some sort of longevity. You know, the 8th house is a house of death, but it's also a house of longevity. We can tell, certain systems of astrology can actually tell how long a person is likely to live, not to the exact day, but, you know, a long life, a short life, a medium life, etc. And that information in Vedic astrology is given through the 8th house. And so because this is a harvest conjunction, I feel that there'll be many of you Librans who are celebrating some type of longevity. Maybe you're celebrating between now and the 29th of June your role as a parent for 30 years, or your marriage of 50 years, or maybe you're celebrating some other form of longevity. I've been at this company for 20 years. Some element of longevity I feel is being celebrated and harvested at this time between now and the 29th of June for our Libran people. You know what? In Vedic astrology, this 8th house is also a house of career change. 8th house brings change. 11th house is the rewards and gains. And when I say 11th house, it's 11 houses from the 10th. So it speaks to a positive career change, the 8th house. So for many of our Libran people, there might be some sort of finishing up of an old career and celebrating some momentum into some new career dynamic between now and the 29th of June. You're seeing the results of your career trajectory, your career journey, and you see results quite tangibly during these weeks in terms of rewards, gains, recognition, accolades. So for many of you beautiful Libran people, this can look like finally getting the recognition that you deserve for a project that you'd worked on, finally getting the remuneration you hoped you would get for some career project that you put out there. Seeing results is very much connected to this regarding career, harvesting, rewards, gains, and a change of pace regarding career. So maybe your project that you were working on goes so well and is so successful that you can actually afford to slow down a bit with your career and your work and your endeavors now. Because remember, this EPIMETHEUS conjunction is about slowing down, reviewing what you've done and celebrating how far you've come and what you've achieved. And it's very much pertaining to career success here for Libran people, I'm happy to say. So very exciting times for our Libran friends. If you would like to know what else is coming up for you in the year ahead, then why not get a year ahead written report from my website? It's only $18 and it will tell you all about what this year has in store for your life. Scorpio rising, sun and moon. You thought it was all done in your 7th house for quite some time. Well, it's not. Here is the EPIMETHEUS conjunction of Mercury and the sun in your 7th house. And if this is happening for you on your descendant, if your descendant is at 23 degrees of Taurus, then you're going to feel it so much more. What does it mean? Well, it means that there is definitely between 14th of May and the 29th of June, there will be kind of a slowing down phase where you are enjoying the relationships that you have in your life, where you're taking stock of your relationships, where you're analyzing and valuing or letting go of even relationships that don't serve you or that are blessing your life. It's very much a taking stock energy. I used the analogy in the introduction of the farmer who sows his fields and then sits back and watches the blossoming and the harvest come in. Then he goes and harvests it when it's ready. That's the phase you're in. It's this sitting back and observing, taking stock. How well did I sow that field? How much have I put into my relationships and is it paying off? You're taking stock of the work you've done, of the involvement that you've had with other people, and whether it's worth the energy that you've been putting in. Whether it's felt like a burden, whether it's felt like a blessing. Really it's quite a fabulous time, this period that we're in from the 14th of May to the 29th of June, because it's not just our marriages, it's not just our personal commitments that we're taking stock of and reviewing at this time. It's business partnerships, it's clients, it is any foreign trade that we're making. Is it worth our while to keep going with this foreign trade investment, or should I let it go? It's very much a time of analyzing our desires as well, taking stock of our desires. In Vedic astrology, this is one of the desire houses. So what are my desires sexually? What are my desires relationally? What are my desires in terms of business? Because this is a business house. It's the 10th house from the 10th. So the analysis period, the review period for the work you've done is now unfolding. Then what else is going to happen between the 14th of May and the 29th of June is an opportunity to finish something you've started. Maybe you were making some foreign trade agreement or signing some contract that might occur between now and then, some alliance, some commitment, some treaty that might be being undertaken that will conclude for our Scorpio people between now and the 29th of June. Also, this can also be a time when you are maybe concluding something to do with a relationship. It doesn't mean the relationship is going to conclude, or the friendship, or the relationship with a client or a business partner or whatever. But it can be that, there is a sort of a finishing something that you were doing together, some sort of collaborative contract maybe winding up. Let's say, you hired a marketing expert for a certain period of time. Maybe you hired them back in early March, and now that contract with them is concluding, and you're analyzing how worthwhile that relationship was, that marketing relationship. Maybe in your personal relationship, you were working on redoing the backyard since March, and renovating this and pruning that and building a barbecue or whatever. And now you're at the point where you're finishing that project as a couple together, and you're looking at it and sitting back and going, what a good job we've done. In fact, it's so good, let's celebrate. This is the harvest point. Let's celebrate what we did together. Let's celebrate the company we built together. Let's celebrate the backyard we renovated together. Let's celebrate the milestone we've achieved as a couple. Let's celebrate the business trade agreement that we managed to pull off or negotiate or mediate. All of these things have to do with the 7th house. And this is very much the nature of the EPIMETHEUS energy. It's reviewing, it is finishing, it is celebrating between now and March. Now and the 29th of June. So quite the exciting time in many respects. Also, this is the 4th house from the 4th, and therefore it's the house of the maternal grandmother. It's also the 10th house from the 10th, the house of the paternal grandfather. So in some way, many of you Scorpio people might be celebrating or bringing recollection to, remembering and honoring a maternal grandmother or a paternal grandfather for some reason or another. I'll also mention that this house is the house of the experts we hire for important things in our life, because it's the 10th house from the 10th, the professional. It's like double whammy professional energy. And so therefore the experts we hire. Maybe you hired an expert architect to design you a house. That architect is likely to be finishing what they started, wrapping it up for you at this time. Maybe you hired an expert, fashion designer to design your wedding dress. And that might be coming to a wrapping up phase now too. There is a finishing of a project by an expert who's been doing something for you in your life, and there is the opportunity between the 14th of May and the 29th of June to see the end of that project and to celebrate the outcome as well. Finally, this is an energy, the Epimetheus conjunction is an energy of connecting the dots and seeing the big picture. For many Scorpio people, you will be seeing the big picture of your relationship with your clients, your relationship with your audience, how the work you've done has impacted your clients, how the work you've done is growing your audience, and even connecting the dots in a marriage. Of course, that can take many shapes and forms. Maybe you're looking at how your husband or wife has been treating you, and you start connecting the dots and seeing some links and seeing a big picture, for better or worse. That can happen between now and the 29th of August too. Clarity comes. The revelation is here, but it requires some retrospective energy, looking at what's gone on before to understand the present that you're experiencing. That's what this EPIMETHEUS conjunction is all about in the house of relationships and partnerships. My precious Scorpio friends, don't forget, if you would like to understand what the year ahead holds for you, I have written reports available at my website for your solar return year for only $18. What could be better than that? Sagittarius rising sun and moon people, what an exciting couple of weeks we have in store for us. The EPIMETHEUS conjunction is occurring in your 6th house, and it's going to be felt between the 14th of May to the 29th of June. What does this mean for you in the 6th house? Well, it means that in many ways, you are now going to be able to slow down and take stock of what you've started, and even see some kind of a finishing of what you've started. Maybe back around the 6th of March or thereabouts, give or take a week or two, you began some sort of work, some sort of hard work or establishment of something new in the workplace, some sort of endeavors that you undertake to pay your bills, to make ends meet. This is the house of service. Maybe you establish some sort of service industry or service opportunity around early March. Maybe even before that, but there might have been some new dynamic to it in early March that was established. Now, as we enter into the EPIMETHEUS phase, you're going to start to see the results and the rewards of what you've done. Maybe you did a big marketing campaign for your workplace or your coffee shop or whatever it happens to be that is your service to the world. Paid service in many ways. Paid service, I just explained for those who don't understand, the 6th house is paid service that, are nursing, teaching, building, plumbing. It's service industries. And so it's not just service, that's thankless. We get paid. This is one in Vedic astrology. This is another of the houses to do with wealth matters, to do with our everyday resources for paying the bills and putting food on the table is a 6th house thing. So back to what we were talking about, this is really a harvest cycle for the efforts that you've made to pay the bills. You might start to see you getting more students into some sort of teaching school that you're running, or getting more coffee shop clients coming your way. The harvest is here for the work that you've been doing to pay the bills and do your service industry since early March. Maybe you're a nurse and you are doing extra courses to, up your qualifications, and now the results come in. You get a better job, a better workplace environment because of the work you've been doing. So this is very much the nature of things you've done in the past starting to pay off. And you'll be looking back and be glad that you undertook that, maternal health nurse qualification, or be glad that you established your teaching school of whatever it is that you're teaching. You'll be glad that you'd worked so hard because the results are now coming in to harvest regarding these 6th house things. It's not only about our job and our work and how we pay the bills, but the 6th house has to do, as many well know, but about the balance between body and spirit. And so many of you Sagittarius people will be weighing up how you're taking care of your body. Okay, you're doing lots of weightlifting, but are you doing enough cardio to keep a healthy body? Are you eating, enough dairy to have enough calcium in your body? Are you having healthy fats? You're taking stock of your health and well-being and the activities you undertake for health and well-being. Many of you Sagittarius people might be finishing maybe a diet program that you've been on to detox or clear your body. This is the house of detoxification, cleansing and cleaning out. You might be ending some sort of detoxification process and taking stock of the difference it's made to your life, being on a vegan diet versus being on the keto diet, I should say. And you're taking stock of that. analyzing the results of an exercise program, analyzing the results of maybe an intensive cleaning program you've been on in your home since early March. Maybe you've been clearing out cupboard after cupboard every weekend, going through your whole house. Now there's this energy between now and the 29th of June of finishing that project you started to do with health, well-being, cleansing, cleaning, literally and physically. And now the end is coming and you can actually celebrate. Yes, I've lost however many pounds. Yes, my body has been detoxified. Yes, I feel so vigorous and healthy. This is a harvest time. You look back, you see what you've done, you celebrate. Maybe how clean your house is or how renewed your garden is because you got in and you cleansed your garden of the weeds that were encroaching. You cleansed your home of all its clutter and mess, and you cleansed your body. So very much a cleansing energy is the 6th house. It's the health of the body. All the work that you've been doing will be harvested between now and the 29th of June. Particularly the work that you've been doing in this area of your life that started around early March. So think about that. What was happening in early March regarding your diet, your health, cleansing and detoxification in many ways, your workplace? What's been going on that's now about to receive results? That's the EPIMETHEUS conjunction. Really, this energy, Sagittarius, gives you the power to connect the dots and see the big picture with how karma has been unfolding in 6th house realms. Okay, maybe I couldn't get traction through the marketing campaigns I was running between early March and now the 14th of May. Maybe it was really hard and I had to work my butt off. But what's the outcome? You've learned how to sell. You've learned how to market. You've learned how to approach people and talk to people and engage people regarding your particular workplace or the work that you're doing in your workplace. Okay, fantastic. You can see why that's been a benefit to you, even if it hasn't been as manifesting as you would have hoped. Maybe, you connect the dots and you see that, okay, I didn't lose weight in that first week of my exercise program, and I didn't lose as much as I'd hoped by the second week. But now look at me. I'm, all these weeks down the track, and I can see the benefit. I can see that, I had to put in those first 2 weeks that cleansed my body, detoxified my body, and then I started to see results. You connect the dots. You see how it all fit together. And now is the harvest and the celebration for keeping on track, for, being, enduring during this time. So the 6th house is very, very fascinating house when it comes to this kind of cycle of Mercury that we're speaking of here, Promethean and Epimetheus. I will just conclude, Sagittarius, by saying that this is a house in Vedic astrology of our enemies, the people we have conflict with. And so there may be a necessity between now and the 29th of June to take stock of the people who, not the people necessarily who are out there, to get us. And there's, of course, unfortunately, we often have those times, but even people who haven't done the right thing by you, that you expected would do something and they didn't do it. You're taking stock of these people that maybe you thought were your friends, but have turned out to be acting more like enemies. They're doing you no favors. And you may be finishing some relationship with somebody who you thought, would do the right thing by, but turned out to be more of an enemy than a friend. And I'm using the word enemy quite loosely there, of course. Somebody who just didn't have you back. So there can be an end to some dynamic with somebody, and quite literally we do have enemies, unfortunately. Even the nicest of us can end up creating enemies, and you scratch your head and you think, how on earth, why? Let me just say, these people who come under the banner of enemies might be leaving your life now. And you might have a cause to celebrate, Sagittarius, because they're no longer part of your life. That person who was making life hard and difficult and uncomfortable for you finishes. That energy finishes. This is And EPIMETHEUS is about the end of one cycle and the start of a new one. So celebrate when that person goes. Bring in the harvest of joy that will bring to see that person gone and out of your life. Well, Sagittarius, this is really the energy that is unfolding between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. But if you want to know what's coming up for you in the whole year ahead, why not get yourself a solar return report or even a transiting planets report? They're available at my website. The solar return report's only $18. Absolute bargain for some really valuable information to support your life in the year ahead. Capricorn, rising, sun and moon people, the EPIMETHEUS conjunction is occurring in the lucky 5th house, the house of fun. Well, what does this mean for Capricorn friends? It means this is an opportunity for Capricorn people to slow down and start enjoying life, start tasting the sweet fruits of life. You know, maybe you've been working very hard since early March, Capricorn, getting things done, you know, showing up when you got to show up, or making necessary changes to make your life better and more joyful, more happy, more aligned with your creative intelligence. Now you can start to taste the fruits, reap the harvest of the work that you've been done. You know, for many, many Capricorn people, this might look like a new career that unfolds between now and the 29th of June. A reinvention of an old career, maybe a renovation of your reputation, because this is the 8th house from the 10th. So it brings change to career, but in a blessed way. So if you've been going through the ringer, Capricorn, since early March, with career particularly, now this can be a taking stock of where you've come from. You understand karmically why things played out the way they did, and now you're about to step into some sort of new harvest for career. So celebrate all that you've learned, the karmic unfolding that's taken place, Capricorn, and the chance to move into a new dynamic. Let me just say, this EPIMETHEUS conjunction is also about finishing what you've started. So if you started something around early March that had to do with some sort of sports or game playing, maybe you joined a sports team, or maybe you joined a bridge club or something like that, this can actually yield results now. Maybe your skills have been so improved in bridge or football or whatever it is, and you celebrate that improvement in your skills. Maybe the football season or the bridge season has come to an end, and you finish that time with that football team or that time with that bridge club, finishing what you started regarding playing games, sports, and having fun. So the time may have come between now and the 29th of June for that to wrap up. But you can always go back again next year, can't you? This is also the house of our hobbies. And for many of you, you might be finishing a particular hobby project. So this isn't an energy of no more of the hobby. Maybe you were working on, designing a spectacular dress, and that's your hobby. You love sewing dresses, and or costumes. That's something I love doing. I love sewing costumes. One of my goals in life, perhaps I'll achieve it when I retire, is to sew all the beautiful famous dresses from my favorite films, like Scarlett's green dress out of Gone with the Wind and stuff like that. Maybe you're finishing a part of that project. Maybe you finally finished Scarlett's green dress with the green velvet ribbon around the waist, and that's one down. There's the finishing and achievement of projects that are hobbies. So celebrate this. This is something to enjoy and see results for and delight in. EPIMETHEUS direct. Of course, this is not just happening on the 14th of May when the conjunction occurs. It's going to be likely to happen between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. You might also see the culmination, if you like, of perhaps some sort of joyful celebration. So many people who are Capricorn, rising sun or moon, may be, celebrating the end of the school process for them, or might be having a wedding, or celebrating, some other kind of joyful experience. You might be putting on a there's there should be more of them, but singles events, this is the house of romance and it's the house of celebrations. I think, this is just my personal opinion, I'm not talking astrology here, but there's just fewer and fewer organic ways of meeting people in the world. And I know many of my clients that I talk to week after week detest using social media. Well, maybe we should be undertaking celebratory opportunities where we can invite singles to come. Of course, people need to attend. That seems to be half the problem. People don't RSVP anymore and they don't attend these opportunities. But when I was growing up, there was something in Australia called the B&S Ball, the Bachelors and Spinsters Ball, which used to be a great way for young singles to meet people. Well, we need that at every age, don't we? So that we might have a chance to interact in an organic way offline with people and get off that rat race of, swipe left, swipe right. Anyway, I have digressed. But let me say that, you might be having some sort of celebration of a romantic nature. Maybe, like I said, that's a wedding or an engagement party, or maybe you're attending some singles event, if there are some out there, and I hope there are, that yields a harvest for the work you've done on yourself, and you meet a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend. Seeing results, being in the harvest phase is what this period of Mercury cycle is all about. Like I said, 14th of May to 29th of June. Celebrating and seeing results and bringing in the harvest regarding romance, dating, love affairs. We're also taking stock, and that does apply to the romance and dating, boyfriend-girlfriend thing as well. Maybe you are taking stock of how valuable it's been for you to be on social, dating apps, how valuable it's been for you to experience certain romantic relationships over the years. And EPIMETHEUS is all about looking back to understand where you're at right now. So I encourage you during this time, my beautiful Capricorn friends, consider the relationships you've had. Take stock of them. Slow down and analyze. How worthwhile have they been, or not worthwhile, and what needs to change going forward so that you can have more of what you want in the dating world. Maybe you need to change the kind of people that you you go out on dates with, or the kind of dates that you go on. And you need to perhaps connect the dots, see the bigger picture. That's what this EPIMETHEUS conjunction is all about, is looking at the big cycle that's been going on in your life regarding relationships, love, romance, dating, looking at the big cycle with your hobbies. What are the big goals you've got that you really want to achieve with your hobbies? And of course, using your talents and your abilities. And also back to this career energy here, the 8th house from the 10th, the changes in career, seeing the big picture, how the divine might have been working in your favor to take you to a place of benefit moving forward, Capricorn, regarding career between now and the 29th of June. Well, Capricorn, if you want to understand more about what the year ahead holds for you, you can get a written solar return report or year ahead report from me at the website for only $18. What's not to love about that? Aquarius rising, sun and moon people. The EPIMETHEUS conjunction is occurring in your 4th house. This is quite an important house to have this occurring in because it's angular, which means it's more likely to manifest in a strong way for our Aquarius friends. And what does it mean? Well, it means that there's a slowing down that we're in now between this month, the 14th of May, through to the 29th of June, where you're reviewing your family life. You're trying to understand the dynamics of your family life or why things have been the way they are. You might be quite literally reviewing your home. Okay, I got this renovation done. Is it to my satisfaction? Some of you might be seeing the end of a renovation occur between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. Some of you might be seeing a garden rejigging or a change in the domestic structure of your home come to fruition at this time. And by domestic structure, I mean who's doing what chores, who's contributing, who is not contributing, and you're taking stock of the changes in your domestic life and your home environment. There may have been something that changed for you around early March regarding your home environment, how you're relating to the people you love, the intimate people in your life, your children, your parents, your husband, wife. You can be, something may have happened in early March that is now reaching its conclusion point. There's a finishing of what was started in early March regarding family. So like I said, it could have been a renovation or a garden rejig, but it could also be, maybe you said, let's do a 3-month trial of, kids taking out the bins every week. And now that domestic change or relationship to the people you love or share a home with is reaching the ends of its phase. There's a finishing energy. Maybe the kids have done a great job taking out the bins every week, and you can celebrate that with them. We should celebrate our little milestones and achievements. Okay, that 3-month trial, kids, well done. We're going out to, I don't know, some fabulous restaurant, kids' family restaurant, to celebrate what a great job you've done. And this is going to be your permanent job from now on, guys, taking out the bins. Family dynamics here. Taking stock of what's going on with the family dynamics, finishing something that was started in early March, celebrating the milestones for family that is really going on now, harvesting the results of family. This is also very pertinent to your parents as well. So there might be some sort of celebratory achievement that your parents are experiencing, my beautiful Aquarius friends. So it could look like, maybe your parents are celebrating an anniversary between now and 29th of June. Or maybe they're celebrating a retirement or, a move to a much more comfortable home. There's something celebratory that's happening in the life of your parents because of this conjunction that's happening between the 14th of May and the 29th of June, Aquarius. This is also a house of real estate. And if you're into real estate, Aquarius, there might be some conclusion of a process with regard to some property development, or maybe even some kind of a deal real estate wise that's been going down. So there's this finishing of this energy. Maybe you put your house on the market in early March. Finally, it's going to sell between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. And finishing that process of marketing your house, selling your house, comparing it to other houses on the market, making sure it's, in a high state of presentation for all the photographs and open houses. And thank God that's over. Celebrate. It's done. It's sold. Cha-ching. Wonderful news. That's another way this can express this EPIMETHEUS cycle activated now in the house of the horoscope that has to do with home and real estate. Maybe it's a project, a big real estate development, not just a family home that you're celebrating, seeing an achievement for in some way. What's really interesting, Aquarius, is that this is the house that we are going back to at the end of our life. It tells us about what might happen in the second stage of life, particularly towards our latter years and our old age. So it's very, very interesting to analyze this with the EPIMETHEUS conjunction here. It could be really sort of what unfolds now, what is celebrated now might have something to do with the long-term trajectory of your life. You will be able to connect the dots and maybe see a big picture. Maybe it could look like you decide to go back to the place where you were born for a visit during this time, and you take stock of everything that's happened in your life since you lived in that area. And, you start to understand, okay, well, look, this is what I want my latter years to look like because I've been through this and I've been through that and I've dealt with this and I've grown from that. There's a real taking stock of your childhood that's informing where you want to go to in the latter years of your life. It's quite a profound house, the fourth house. How you live the last few years of your life is something that we observe in the fourth house. You want to know about that? Look to your fourth house, my friends. I think, this energy allows you, that's happening this week, allows you to sort of connect some dots, as I've said, about where you're heading based on where you've come from. It's very much about looking back and celebrating with a view to the big picture of where you're going. Quite a complex energy, this Mercury cycle. Can I just say, Aquarius, that the fourth house also has to do with feelings and emotions? This conjunction is not an anxiety-building conjunction. Even though Mercury is invisible, he's not cazimi, he's combust, it's still a cycle that allows us to slow down, not panic, not freak out. So it's about reviewing, analyzing, and finding some state of peace. I use the analogy in the introduction about a farmer who's sown the seeds, and now he's sitting on his porch watching the crop come up, and the rains come and go, and the sun's shining, and the crop growing to its harvest. That's the phase that you're in right now. It's actually quite a peaceful phase. It's not a frantic phase. So this strikes me that this is a period between the 14th of May to the 29th of June when your emotions will be more calm, in a state of being that is at ease, not in a panic, not in a rush, in a state of, look at where I've come, look at what has been, look at what I've achieved, and celebrating that. Well, my beautiful Aquarius friends, I also offer a solar return report that looks at your year ahead. And what a great thing to do, to look at your year ahead. All it costs is $18 to get a written report analyzing what's coming up for you in the next year of your life. You can get it at the website. Precious Pisces, rising, sun or moon people. Well, this EPIMETHEUS conjunction is occurring in your third house. And so it's in third house things that you're going to find you'll be slowing down and taking stock of your life regarding between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. What does that look like for you? Well, it means you'll be analyzing your business. If you run a small business, this is your house. You will be weighing up what's worked, what hasn't worked, marketing strategies, how they've gone for you, whether they've been worthwhile, courses that you've done, certificates you've achieved. You'll be analyzing their value and reviewing them. Once you've, reviewing all these things to do with third house, you'll be taking stock of what to keep and what to let go of, what's worked, what hasn't. And so you might be at this point finishing up some sort of marketing campaign or a teaching course or a workshop that you've been running, and it's reaching its conclusion. Has it been worth it? Has it been something that you really value? You'll be analyzing that now, and certainly the end is at hand. This is a harvest period, and you'll be seeing results. Maybe you did a workshop in, AI or something like that. And the results are that now you can absolutely enhance your own, marketing work or written work or something like that, because now you know how to really utilize AI in a healthy way. Some short course that you've done pays off and serves you well now. I've used AI as an example, but it can be anything. Maybe you've done a short course in money management, or a short course in, music theory, because you want to teach music to young students. So you've done some certificate in something or other that now brings a harvest into your life. You can see the benefit of, you can celebrate the new insight and understanding and power that it's given you. Something else that the EPIMETHEUS energy is all about in the third house is connecting the dots. And this is a very busy house. It's a restless house. It's also the 8th house from the 8th. So it's a massive house of change. And you'll be really able to analyze, my beautiful Pisces friends, the changes that have occurred in your life recently, what the big karmic picture is there. Connecting the dots around the big changes, the big redirections, the 180-degree turns around you've had in life. You'll be able to see and even get an epiphany over and a deep understanding of why things happened the way they did. I'll give you an example. I spent, how many years was it? It must have been, it was 10 years I spent in the town of Bendigo in central Victoria. I didn't really enjoy my time there very much at all. But I look back and I connect the dots, because this is the EPIMETHEUS looking back cycle. And what happened for me during that time was I pretty much shut myself away in my house for 10 years and built my business, established my astrology business, third house. And because of that, I can see the value of living in a town where I just didn't really connect with many people. I felt it was very cutthroat, dog eat dog kind of a town, everybody trying to get ahead. Not a lot of community love and support the way I've been used to in country towns where I'd lived my whole life. So I look back now and I can actually say that was a valuable time for me, even though in many respects it wasn't pleasurable. This is what I mean by taking stock of third house things. Okay, I'm talking about my time in Bendigo, but what it led to was this business that I run, third house business, this upgrading of my astrology skills. I did so many courses in astrology and deep dives further into astrology because I didn't have much of a social life. I didn't go out much. I pretty much just stayed at home, and that actually gave me the opportunity to grow my skill sets, to grow my business, etc. What about you? When you take stock and connect the dots about how life has unfolded for you regarding learning new skills, developing new insights and courses, wisdom, communications, new marketing skills, etc. What can you celebrate? What can you be thankful for? This EPIMETHEUS cycle allows us to really tap into that between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. I'm really feeling that for many Pisces people, there is some sort of an ending or finishing or harvest to be celebrated regarding some sort of transaction or trade that may have been taking place. Maybe, you were utilizing a certain platform, for example, for marketing or promotion or that kind of stuff, and you may be finishing up with that platform. Maybe you've gone as far as you can go with that, or it's not paying off. You've taken stock of that platform and it's not doing what it needs to. This is the house of social media and internet platforms, etc., and you're taking stock about its value, finishing up with those sorts of associations. I know a lot of people are getting off TikTok and Instagram and going to upscrolled instead, so that's the kind of thing we're talking about here, finishing our time with certain apps or platforms and that sort of thing, finishing our association and moving on to something else. We are taking stock of whether something's been good for us in that regard or whether it's even a value in our life currently. So many people are getting off social media, it seems. I'm very curious to see what happens in this age of Aquarius, actually, Pisces, because I really think that so many people are getting off social media, knowing the damage that it does and how destructive it can be. I mean, there's benefits too, but I feel that there's something else that will be rolled out before very long, that will be a modernization of social media or an upcycling of social media in some ways. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens, but that is another rabbit hole that I won't go down for now. In Vedic astrology, this is a house of excitement and enthusiasm. So I do see that as you connect the dots and see the big picture of your life and your knowledge and your skill sets, you'll get excited. There'll be some enthusiasm that comes in. Maybe you realize that, all your time spent learning the clarinet is going to pay off because, hey, you've just joined this fabulous jazz band and they play every weekend, they get great gigs and it's so fun, and you celebrate. You can see the worthwhileness of the development of your skills, third house. You can see how those things are playing out in a worthwhile way in your life. Also, the role of your siblings, the role of your neighbors, the role of your local environment as well. So neighborhood, etc. And I mentioned before, this is an illustration that I gave, I mentioned before, living in the community of Bendigo. I connect the dots and I see how it worked in my life to get me to where I am right now. And that's something I'm grateful for, even though I didn't enjoy that town very much at all. Just for those who don't know, that is Jacinta Allen's the current Premier of Victoria's political seat. So say no more. They're the kind of people, like Bendigo is full of people who vote for that cow. To be perfectly honest, that utter revolting cow. And so hence I was not able to really connect too much with people in that environment. The third house also has to do with writing and music, Pisces. Many of you might be, finishing up some writing project or some music project at this time, something to celebrate. Maybe you finished writing an article for a magazine or a workshop or a course. You finished writing it. That's something to celebrate. That's something to harvest. Sit back like the farmer on his porch, seeing the grain come into its full fruiting. Something to be happy about. There's some sort of celebration associated with a writing project or a music project for some of you Pisces people. Finally, this is also the house of short trips, feeling restless as well. It's a restless house because it's the 8th house from the 8th. It's all about change. So I really see that this energy of EPIMETHEUS conjunction here, it is about slowing down, but I don't think it takes away the restlessness of the house. So you'll slow down and take stock, but the restlessness of the house is still going to propel change. But change that is good, change that allows you, as I've mentioned, to finish the projects, to finish the writing, the marketing, the music, the communication, the development of skills. It's that I've got to keep moving energy that will allow you to see a harvest reaped at this time, Pisces. Pisces, I also want to mention that if you are interested in what's coming up for you in the year ahead, I have a solar return written report available for $18 at my website. If you would like to understand what the year holds for you, jump over to the website and grab that report. Aries rising, sun and moon people, well, the EPIMETHEUS conjunction is occurring for you in the 2nd house. This is the house of giving. Between the 14th of May through to the 29th of June, you will be really analysing, slowing down and taking stock of how you are giving in life, how you are sharing, how you are offering who you are to the world and the resources that you have to the world. This is the house of giving. You might be analysing where you've been giving too much and not receiving enough on the other end, where you've been, giving in the wrong place to people who don't appreciate what you're offering. So there's an analysis phase that you're entering into here, looking back over what you've given. Not only that, there is an ending to some type of giving that is occurring here. So maybe you plan to, support somebody through World Vision, for example's sake. Not that I'm promoting World Vision in any way, shape or form, but I'm using it as an example. Maybe you decided to support a young child through their education, and that was your act of giving. Now, between the 14th of May and the 29th of June, there's something about that that's coming to a conclusion. Maybe the child is now no longer, maybe they turned 18, they're no longer on the program. And so there's a finishing to some act of giving that may be taking place. Maybe there is a finishing energy or an end of a project that you were involved with that was causing some sort of money to come your way. Some investment is finishing up now. Maybe you're selling some stocks or changing your investment portfolio. There's an ending to financial resources here. Maybe you looked at the bank account that you've had and you thought you were going to get such and such a return on your savings, but it wasn't happening. So you take stock and maybe it's time to finish that investment, that bank association, etc., and move to something else. But also there is a celebratory. This is like a harvest energy where we take stock, we finish something up and we reap the harvest. We bring in the fruit. So it could be that, maybe you invested in a certain something or other for 5 years and then you've taken stock of how it's grown and you decided, I'm going to sell. And then you celebrate the lovely little bundle that's now in your bank account, from selling that. There's a celebratory energy, a feeling of achievement, a feeling of results and harvest. Quite literally, this could be harvest. This is the house of the food we grow, and growing things. So, this could see maybe, maybe you're harvesting some lemons off the lemon tree, quite literally, from the backyard now. Maybe you are, you've been growing some sort of food and it's now available for you, quite literal. Sometimes astrology can be that way. This is a house that tells us what type of work that we should undertake to succeed at making money in our life. Basically, we do that by looking at the planets in our second house or the sign in our second house in whole sign astrology. But when we have the EPIMETHEUS conjunction occurring here, it does tell us to review, slow down and analyze what type of work we're doing that creates money for us in our life. And we might be reaching certain conclusions about that now that cause change to happen. So that could be happening between the 14th of May and the 29th of June as well. This is the house of what we do to make ourselves feel stable and secure in the world, feel balanced and harmonious. And of course, we might be, finishing something in our life, concluding something in our life that is not allowing us to feel stable and secure. Maybe we've been supporting somebody, giving again, and they just keep taking and taking and taking from us, and that leaves us feeling in a precarious position. And so we end that association between the 14th of May and the 29th of June. We finish something that is making us feel a lack of stability and a lack of security in the world. So there's lots going on here in the second house for our Aries friends. I do feel that there is a celebratory element here that has to do with feeling good about some acquisitions that you've made, some buying, something that you've purchased, some goods that you now own. A harvesting. Maybe you've been saving for a long time, and finally you can afford to buy that piece of artwork that you've had your eye on, or that special car that you really love. There is this celebratory harvest from some work that you've done with your finances, with your money. In many ways that's saving, or maybe you've been growing it in some other way that's led you to a point where you can acquire something that you've longed to have. That may be happening for you between the 14th of May and the 29th of June as well, Aries. Certainly there is some sort of success that's associated with this energy regarding materiality. It could look like, it doesn't have to be necessarily buying something. It could be like I mentioned, the lemon trees are now, blooming, or you can pick them or whatever. It could be a literal harvest of food, but a literal harvest of something that you've wanted. Maybe, you wanted a collection of, Gucci perfumes or something like that. And, you finally get them. You finally get that painting. You finally get that car, whatever it happens to look like. It's a celebratory moment for something that you've been aiming for quite some time. The final thing that I want to mention is that I think this is a really important time, Aries, for you to look at the big picture of your financial situation and review where you're at and what you need to do, what changes need to be made, what strategies need to be applied, what budget decisions need to be made to get you where you want to go. This is really looking at big picture stuff, connecting the dots, seeing why it took so long to save, or why you haven't been able to save, or why you haven't been able to, get to a certain level of income. This is a real analysis time. So from the 14th of May to the 29th of June, it's a budgeting time, it's a reviewing time, it's an analysis time that can take you into a new and better cycle, provided you give yourself the time to slow down and analyze and review all those nitty-gritty bits that form the big picture when it comes to finances, savings, and spendings. That's what I'm seeing for our Aries friends. Use this time to your advantage. Also, something you can use to your advantage is the solar return report that I offer for $18 on my website. It will give you an overview of the year ahead, what to expect, what are the main themes and energies that are unfolding in your life. Head to the website if you'd like to get one of my solar return reports or any other reports that are available at my website. Thank you for joining me for this week's Astro Weather, friends. I look forward to come and join you next week again with the Astro Weather Report. In the meantime, be blessed.